Everything funny, good chat, therapy.
Hi, hello. It's Kelly BL Chef, and I am here with my sister Anwi and my friend
Hi.
Yoshi. I'm under the weather today, but we are still gonna push through and watch Shine because I didn't want to miss it. It's stubborn and that part. So if I'm a little quiet today or not as me, that's why. No worries. I'll go to sleep eventually. This is
You
the
were very you yesterday when you kept saying, "Where's Victor? Where's Victor?" I'm
last.
like, girl, he just dropped him off.
No, he was
I'm
supposed to go
sorry.
with him.
I don't think that's what he said.
Oh,
But
I think that
okay.
Victor's a problem. You don't think Victor's a
Okay.
problem? He got
He could be, but I
assaulted?
thought he just. I mean, we're talking about another show. Let's not talk about that. I'm sorry, but you were
Yeah,
cracking me up with the "Where's Victor"
What show was this?
the
that
new
summer.
one that summer.
Oh. Oh, yeah,
I'm
I know what you're
The
always
one
talking
she
about.
wasn't supposed to record.
I'm always suspicious. So is Yoshi. You feel me,
Yeah, no, I
Yoshi?
clocked that shit immediately. I was like, where
But
that
I
man at?
didn't.
Where that
I didn't
man
hear
at?
him say he was coming, but it's okay. I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
he
because
didn't want to go by
we spoil
himself. Oh
things.
my God, this is
Somebody
about
else said we
Shine.
spoil. Yeah, this is Shine, and they said we spoil things when we talk about other shows too much. So I don't want
Oh
to talk
no, I'm
because
so
that's a
sorry.
new one. That's a new one. So
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna stop talking about that. That was about that. So I'm so sorry that summer. I'll try to
I'm sorry.
not.
My comment was the fact that you weren't supposed to be recording anything, and you talked a whole lot yesterday. I don't. You
Did
need to be in
I?
bed.
I didn't feel like I
You
was.
did.
Um, well,
Get ready for the pain.
I know we're so if you're watching this on YouTube, you know that we had a hard time posting the full thing on YouTube. So you'll see this, and then if you want to see the full reaction, you can jump over to Patreon. But we will be posting right after this a review recap of uh of the series. Okay, guys, welcome to the recap review whew, of
Make
the
you a
show.
big fan.
Well,
As heartbreaking as this episode was, it didn't destroy me the way the last one did. That
it
last
was
one.
different. It was a different kind of. It wasn't. It was not as. I mean, visually
Yeah.
upsetting. You know, there was some pretty horrific and traumatic imagery in the last episode, where this was
Yeah.
more. The knowledge was upsetting, but the imagery wasn't as
Yeah,
Right. Right.
impactful.
it feels like a lot of the horrible things that happened in this episode were implied.
Right. We didn't
Like
see
a
There
it.
you
lot of
go.
the things
Yeah.
that really were really bad this episode happened off screen.
Yeah. I didn't.
Uh,
Mm.
so
Well,
if
job.
we're recapping, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just
I
gonna
was just
say
gonna say
overall,
something.
like job well done to
Yeah.
Shine and
The
BOC.
way they ended it was not. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't unrealistic. The things that happened in the end there. Uh, but I was gonna. We started with Victor's friends and what they were going through,
You were
and
gonna
you were
say
talking
something,
about how
Yoshi?
important. Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry, Yoshi. Were you about to say
I
something?
was just gonna say I feel it's such a weird feeling. I don't know how to explain how I feel right now. Like
Mm.
almost like I don't like melancholy. You know what I mean?
No, I
Like
get it.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
yeah.
there was a glimmer of happiness there at the end. Like those two got their happy ending. But I'm just like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of like all of these other
Lert,
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still really,
non.
really stuck on Lert. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that destroys me. The horror that you have to think of what the rest of his life was.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to go back and then get to
Uh-huh.
that point because there's a
Yeah.
lot to discuss about him.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say go back to the friends and how you were saying it's important that they pointed out what the other people go through after that loss of life.
Right.
And 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 while they were going through all that, I was sitting there thinking in my mind, they were just talking about how, they didn't expect someone to die for this cause. And I was thinking the chief already died for this cause.
Yeah.
But they weren't thinking like that when he in his passing. And they're young too, so I kind of get it. But that was in the top of my mind the whole time they were talking about all that.
I think there is a I don't want to say glorified, an anesthetized idea of what protest is. And there's like this right and wrong way to do it. And there's these ideas of what comes out of it. But until you participate in it fully, I don't think you can fully understand what that, like, even right now, if you seeing somebody, doesn't even have to be death, somebody getting like ripped through with like the rubber bullets and stuff, there's trauma in that. Your body is traumatized. The witnessing of your friends having that happen, tear gas, all of those things, there's trauma in all of that. And so I think there's the hope that you have as a young person to do these things, but without the full scope of the reality of what it's like when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people, this is pervasive throughout this thing for me. Those folks that say, get over stuff, it happened a while ago, but a lot of the people that went through it are still living, because we were just this is in the 70s. I was born in 73. So this stuff happened within my lifetime, right? So I was thinking, like, the people that say get over it, a lot of those folks went through that trauma, right? They were in those protests. They watched their friends get hurt with the tear gas and all. How do you get over that? And how do you not think it's coming back? Like any little thing could spark that off again.
Like when I was trying to figure out like when so there were always these historical student movements though, but I was trying to figure out if it was the 1973 one. You talk about that. There was 1973 was a student-led protest to overthrow the military that was successful. Then there was another one in 1976 because there was the return of the general that overthrew returned, and that was a violent massacre in 1976. And then in 1992, there was again a student again played a role in pro-democracy protest over the military-led government. So it's like it's just
and even in the show, they mentioned in 71 there was like they mentioned a coup in that happened.
Yeah.
So like
prior to that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It happened.
Yeah,
in
it
71?
happened. Yeah, because remember when the dude who joined the military, which is still a wild. That's a wild choice for him.
I mean, it happens though. Yeah, that's even more realistic.
It does happen.
Yeah.
But like when he was going back over what his friends were doing now, and he was talking about the one who was still like involved in student activities, they mentioned that there was a coup in 71.
And then also I didn't want to miss the 2020, which was the height of like things going on in BL, and what people historically don't realize is as BL was gaining, this is when around the time of Not Me, which I will say again and again is why Not Me was such a risk, and people got mad back then because it didn't get pushed and uplifted by GMM at the time, and it was literally in the midst of these student protests, and it was, they were in the midst of doing these things that were being portrayed in this show, and we're seeing here in America what it looks like when there is control over media, and the risks you take when you push against that. So but yeah, there were multiple upsets in 2021 in October and August. In 2020, there was March, July, August, October, and late 2020 and 2021. So that was just a huge powder keg of stuff. But it was also the same time we were going. This was,
I was going to say we were going through that too.
Yeah. So there was a big influence. That was when BLM started to push out influence everywhere. And so there were upsets all over the world going on. I don't know. I'm sorry, I took us off topic a little bit.
Oh no, I was going to move to the next part of that where Tonwa was losing it. And I
Oh,
feel like that's the first time we really saw that kind of emotion from
yeah,
Tonwa.
Hmm.
he's been checked out.
Yeah. It was like years of pent up emotion
Yeah,
that like finally bubbled over. And when you've been repressing that much for that long, when that top blows, it
yeah,
blows big. And that's what
yeah,
we saw.
yeah,
And it took a long, long time to get past that because it took
yeah.
so long to get to it in the first place. I
Hmm.
want to say that I wrote down pretty shirt because I didn't want to say it in the moment, but his shirt was real pretty in that scene. And then there were other moments where I wrote down, Tama's shirt is so pretty, like all through the episode.
Pretty
I didn't want to
costumey.
break the feeling that he wore a lot of cute things in that episode.
I did
Uh,
like that he always had that friend with him though. Like that's a good
the
friend.
friend
He
was
is a
awesome.
wonderful friend.
And I don't know if it was like explicitly stated, but my headcanon is that friend is the one that brought in the dad.
Oh no,
Oh
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I felt the
there's
Like
same.
nobody
I
else.
Yeah.
felt like
Yeah,
that was implied, but
yeah,
it wasn't like stated. I was like that's what happened, right? Like
yeah.
he went and got dad.
We'll
He was
go
like,
back, but since you brought up bringing in the dad, I had written down that redeeming parents trope. You know, when they brought in the dad, initially that's what I
Mhm.
felt, and then you brought up T, and I was like, you know what? Sometimes parents get it, like they get that they need to be there for their child at some point. You know what I
The
mean? When it's too much.
with the um I'm pretty sure he tells the story pretty often, so I'm not that worried about it, but I won't say his name because he does it in the work that he does.
Uh
Um
huh.
but he, kicked out by a parent because of his sexuality, literally. Like, it was a horrible experience. She was horrible to him. He went
Hmm.
through a bunch of stuff. We don't need to go all the details of all of it, but he was lifing on him, and he had gotten to a better place. And he is very open about being HIV positive. That's part of his work. But laws had changed in where we lived, and he was unable to get the medicine that he needed like he should. And he was just in a bad place emotionally and just getting back into a
Hmm.
lot of bad stuff. Needless to say, he was literally dying in front of our eyes. We were watching him die, or we couldn't even get in the room to watch him die. And
Hmm.
there is a point. I like looked at the friend and I was like, there's a point, even though that was a horrible woman, that they had no relationship, sometimes you need your mama. Like, that's where we were at. And we called her,
Hmm.
and she came in with Pedialyte. She got him to open the door. He had curled up like in a ball next to his bed and was just letting himself die there. That's what was happening. And she came in and she took care of him, and she's like, I'm going to bring him home with me now. And she took him home, and their relationship here, she ended up passing away very, very shortly after that, sadly.
Yeah.
But in that period, they rehealed all of the stuff that had been broken. I mean, I don't think it was perfect, but it was a relationship that they had lost that they found back in that moment, because she was called to be a parent again.
hmm.
And I just called you about you and Nikki about something that made me cry because I saw a change in a person as a
Yeah,
parent and
yeah.
how they stepped up. And I was like, oh, parents can do that as they get older, realize that they need to be there for their child, their adult child, if they weren't
Hmm.
there for them in the past. There can be situations where a parent can be there
I think
for
I
their adult child.
dislike the redemption trope when there's no work behind it. When they're just like, you
Right.
gotta say you love your parent. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that I find that in this one, he showed up. He did the work. Like, he took care of his
Hmm.
child, like, which I know should be
Yeah.
the bare minimum, but it's, not everybody does
Is
that.
equipped.
So
You know what? Also, that not to say that it excuses his behavior, but he was going through that loss as well, and he was not doing well with that loss either.
yeah,
And
Hmm.
and Mom wasn't doing well. And, they all had
Yeah.
some emotional issues. Mom took herself out of the equation. And then dad was left and he didn't have the tools to cope, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't do a great job helping his child through that situation. But he took the responsibility at this point. I think I still ain't going to get over the slapping.
No, I don't think we have to think he's a good person
Oh my
now.
God.
He just showed up when the
I can't get
time
that out of
he
my
did the thing
brain.
he was supposed to do for his child when it was
Yeah.
called on. I don't think it is not our job to forgive that man. His son
Right,
can,
right.
but we don't have to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then let's rewind. Or did you have something to say on that, Yoshi?
No.
Let's rewind to Lert then. Because I have Lert in huge
Oh God.
letters because he revealed what the military was doing in that press conference.
Yeah.
And we weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
And it
I think I knew it was coming. Like I felt it. I was like, he's about to blow this whole thing up. He's about to blow
Mhm.
this whole thing up, and he did. And I was like, he definitely just did that.
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have had some kind of thought of what would happen if he blew it up, like to his wife, to the person that because he had to know the military knew who he was with. Wasn't it in the room with Vera when Vera died? Wasn't there
Yeah.
evidence
Yeah.
of that in there?
They,
Yeah, so I was like, I understood his need to let it be known, but also you're not thinking of what can happen to all these other people
I
that
think
you
he
love
was.
when you're
I
doing
think he
that.
was. I think he was at the end. I think he was just done.
Like, what else do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. There was no other option, and other people were
Mm.
getting hurt now too. So it's not just me
Mhm.
protecting mine anymore.
yeah, and I think that
Right.
he was it was like they're already threatening me. I'm going, like, in my brain, they're already threatening me. I'm going to outlive my usefulness to them, and they're eventually going to take me out. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
while I have this ability, I'm going to speak the truth.
Yeah.
I think that it was
I mean, that was
his nuclear button. He was like, I don't see a way out of this that doesn't end with all of us probably dead. So at the very least, I'm gonna get the truth out there, and maybe that leads to a pathway.
and now that I think about it, that was his plan in the first place, recording all of that
Yeah. Yeah.
on
He
the audio
already
recorder.
intended to, which I don't think
Yeah.
Ron would have any problem with. He was ready for that, and I think he thought his wife was protected because she clearly was.
She
Yeah,
obviously was.
she
I
has
don't
her
think
own
he
form
thought
of power.
she was gonna anything was gonna happen to her. She was the one. At least he thought her father was the one pulling. Her family was the one pulling the strings. So he
But the
did.
thing that sucks is Trent wasn't protected because they were ready to set him up for all
Oh,
of
that's
that.
right.
Remember,
Yeah.
the head of the military was like going to
But
put
he
it all
said
on
to his
him.
wife, "I know you wouldn't hurt Trent." I think he believed the people who needed to be taken care of would be.
We're taken
Mhm.
care of.
Mm-hmm. Uh.
And then Yoshi made the point that, like you just said, he was ready to do all that because you made the point that he looked at peace with what he had done when he
Mm-hmm.
went in the room with Miss Moira. Kelly, you said it. You said the women are the ones that are gonna make
Yeah.
all this happen, and that's exactly what they did. The women were the ones to get the bad guy out of there. One of them happened to be a bad guy, but
That was. Can I talk about like the ride they took us on with
yes,
that? Because it was
yes,
really. It was a really high to a really low within what
yes.
20 minutes. Because she shows up and she's the one that's like, okay, we got to nip this in the bud. She thinks about Moira. She doesn't know. She just is smart enough to know maybe Moira has video.
Mm-hmm.
And then, gets all of that taken care of, shuts that whole thing down, gets him safe. And then, God dang, we get just to turn around and be like, I know what you are. I know who you're with. I knew back then. I handled it then and I'll handle it now. And she did it in front
Pulled
of
that ring
Trent.
out, yo. She pulled that ring out as evidence. This is what happened before, and it can happen again.
You think
Hmm.
do you think my father
Yeah.
did that? My father didn't do that. Oh my God.
And
The
I
whole time I was like, she doesn't have to do this. I know like being married in that time is important or whatever, but once she was still so devoted to him in a way that did not make sense to me. Even in that moment, like she was like, that's my
mhm,
husband. I'm going to go protect him. And it didn't also match up. Her willingness to protect him didn't match with her denouncements of the college students. Remember, I pointed that out a couple of weeks back where
mhm,
she was so cold about the college. And
mhm.
I was like, oh, she's that kind of person. I got it. And she was.
Yeah.
She was worse than that kind of person.
Yeah.
She is scary.
And those people are among us, guys. Um,
I was glad that Narn was able to get out of there. Sad that he lost his love, but very glad that he
got away from it
skipped
all. Yeah.
town. Yeah.
And he did something, I mean, he was part of something major before he left. He was able to,
Hmm.
enact some change. Um, oof. What
Speaking
else?
of change, I don't want to leave there, but I do want to say we're talking about the student that joined the military, and I want to say that's probably why he joined the military, because he felt just like we kept saying, Trent wanted to do it from the
Yeah.
inside out. I feel like because I have a person in my life that was a cop, and she was in the hood in New York and witnessed a lot of the things that cops did to people who were of color. But she became a cop because she felt like if she was one, she could do better,
Mm-hmm.
enact some change from the inside. And I feel like that's part of
What
maybe
he's
the
doing.
student's reason for joining the military. And he did. I mean, the way he talked about what Lert was doing
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
once
say.
all this is done. Yeah,
I
I
was
think
gonna
he. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was gonna tag on that. He sees Lert as a hero and he was working to finish Lert's work.
Right.
So
Yeah.
his goal was to do the work, to do what Lert's vision was, not what maybe the military's vision is.
Yeah. And Trin had to leave because he didn't feel like he was meeting that goal. Like,
Uh-uh. No,
even though he was
no,
trying.
not even meeting that goal. They turned on him. He
Yeah.
was
Oh
done
yeah,
with
he
that.
would have been safe had he stayed. But you know what? Also, though, his initiatives happened because of Alert. The things
Yeah.
that he studied and found that were good things to do were happening because of his uncle.
Um,
So yeah.
but I mean, Lert wasn't completely out of it. He still was working in that role, just in another country. Remember, he didn't like leave his position. He didn't leave. He said,
Alert
"I
went to
can."
another country.
Not Lert. I'm sorry. Trin.
Trend.
Sorry.
Trend. Yeah,
So
he was
it's
doing it
not like it's not like he
in
left.
another
It's not like
country.
he
You're
walked
right.
away.
You're
He
right.
didn't.
Um, I don't know what else I had to say.
Mm. About Lert.
Oh, the ending. No,
Oh,
no. I
oh,
was
oh,
just
wow.
moving through
I
the
thought we were.
story. Where are we now?
Yeah, we can move on to because with
To Tanwa.
Tanwa and writing the book, his mother's book,
Hmm.
and
And
finishing. Oh, well, go ahead.
learning that what his mother was feeling before she
Mm-hmm.
passed. I think that was really important for him. Like he just felt like his dad just gave up on her and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. But reading in her own words what she was going through, and knowing that he was probably feeling some similar things, but
Mm-hmm.
he said he was going to change the ending. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to end
And
it in a different way.
it also showed just how important she was to his dad. That
Yes.
A, he kept that book, and B,
Mm-hmm.
he was reciting it as
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hanwha was reading
Hmm.
it. So that's not
Mm-hmm.
just a thing he has, it is
Mm-hmm.
a thing that he has and spends a significant portion of his time reading.
Hmm.
I think
And it
that that
was,
was
and it, go ahead.
I think that that was like really important for for Tanwa coming back, is
Mm-hmm.
to see that his dad still cared, because I think that a large
Yeah.
part of his pain with his father was that he felt like his dad didn't actually care that his mom died,
Mm-hmm.
that his dad was unaffected, that his dad was just continuing with his life and living it normally. And I think that showing him that, yeah, no, this hurt me too. Like this also broke me in a way that you aren't aware of. Like finding that out from his dad was, I think, a big bridge between them that allowed them to come back and bring him back from the like basic. He was gone.
Yeah, he was
Mm-hmm.
dying
Yeah.
himself, you know, in that. But here's the it also helped his father, right? Because this time he could bring that person, like we were saying, he could bring the person back from that brink. He was
Mm-hmm.
able to, and and he said, I'm going to keep writing the story and change the ending. And that dad was like, I can't wait to read that. You know,
Yeah.
I think he needed that as well, because I
Mm-hmm.
think he wasn't in a good place either. Well, we know he
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in a good
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Because like you said, he was able to be there in a way for Tanwa that he wasn't for his wife.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they left us to the very end for us to see that conversation with Victor that
Oh, yeah.
Tanwa had. That it was worse. It was worse than we thought, because we thought, well, you did try to tell him you tried to tell him, but it wasn't even just that. It was that he was sworn and that he kept the promise, even though it made him lose the person that was anchoring him to life at that time.
Hmm.
But I think, like you said, Ami, he was. Oh no, I'm hitting my wall, guys. What's his name? Trent. Uh, I think Trent. I think Trent was right in the sense that all of that had to happen without him. I think he needed to
Yeah.
be separated from Trent, and you can say 2 years is a long time, but there's no time limit on how grief and
Mm-hmm.
healing
Right.
and working on yourself. There's no time frame or limit to that. So it's gonna take as
And
long as it's
then,
gonna take. And if he was gonna be there, he was gonna be there. If not, that's
yeah.
life.
And then to end with the two of them together, that brought
Yeah.
me back to the subject of people say get over it or it happened so long ago or all that, where when they met, they couldn't even be like open about being in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And now they can be married. We'll assume that they're married. We saw a
Yeah.
ring. So now they can be married. I remember
Mm.
being with folks that I could never say, we want to legally get married. You know, that's not long ago at all, especially not in Thailand, because that just happened in Thailand,
Right.
right? So it's just interesting to me how people act like stuff is history when it's really still affecting us
Right.
today.
I think something that I don't want to say up against, but something I'm noticing is that I'm excited there's a generation that was born in a time where a lot of these things had been overturned or, you know,
Yeah.
but also there's a naivete in that and an
Yeah.
assumption of that
Hmm.
this is the baseline when it's not.
Yeah.
This is the beautiful moments in between the messy ones, and there are people fighting tooth and nail to bring us back to where we were every day. I remember that I got in arguments over Not Me, and I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to spoil stuff. Like we've been told, but I got in arguments during Not Me, and I got in arguments during the eclipse, and a lot of my arguments were around the idea that like ideally, yes, things would be this way. Ideally, this would be the outcome of that. And Moonlight Chicken, I got in arguments because I was like, people couldn't see the full picture of like how things are for generationally. And I remember fussing. I don't remember what show it was, but I just kept saying they are trying to actively take away the right for marriage. And it was just marriage at that point. God knows where we're at this point, but at least then they were trying to just take away the right of marriage. This was before the election, and people just couldn't even that entertain that with me, right? Like that was just such a ridiculous statement to make because we had freedoms here. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm not being very eloquent, but you know what I mean.
No, I totally because it makes me think of people who are like, well, you had a black president, so the
Yes,
race issue
exactly.
is over. That's
Yeah.
not a problem anymore if you can have a black president. There are kids who are in college right now. The only president they remember, the first president they remember rather, is the black president. So
Right.
they're thinking the world is great because,
Yeah.
and we see that it is not
It
that.
is not.
But and there are people who were born way before that know these kinds of tactics that were happening in our country, that just because we had a black president doesn't mean a thing to them, because we know what can happen to you in the blink of an eye. So yeah, so those arguments will continue because there are so many generations of people, and just because you get a little small taste of good stuff doesn't mean it's gonna last.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say you shouldn't keep fighting for the good stuff.
Gotta keep
Yeah.
Just be very aware that just because it's there doesn't mean you're done.
Don't take it for granted.
Right. Oh, that was a really well done show, and I like the way that it ended. It hurt a lot, but there was no way to make all of that happy. You can't tie that all up in a neat bow.
No. Like I said, it's just I feel very melancholy about it. Like I'm happy that there was some good resolution, but also there's a lot of pain there, and like that is kind of what I expected. When I went into this episode, I was just like, what ideally do we get out of this episode? Like what does a final episode of this series look like? And I like, my worst case scenario was that absolutely everything was dark in the end, and like, because I actively could see it going that way. Like there was many parts in this series where in this episode where I was like, yep, this is where it's gonna go even darker, and like, I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong in several spots, but so I went in, what is my expectations for this episode, and I was like, I just need a glimmer of some possibility of happiness, and I think they did a good job of balancing realism while also giving us like a ray of hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did. Nothing felt unearned.
Right.
Agreed.
I wanna wrap it up with Lert was the most devastating character for me.
Yeah.
Because he's still got to live in that.
He's still in it.
Even if he's doing some good, he's still got to live in that. And I feel like Kelly needs to go to bed.
Yeah. I agree with both of those statements.
I didn't realize what time it was. I'm not usually. This is a long time being up.
I gotta get ready.
I feel like Lert was definitely the most devastating story in this entire series,
and which is crazy to say because he's still alive, but he's living.
But
that
it's
life.
So sad because when I kept thinking he wasn't going to be living anymore, I was like, that might be better than having to be stuck with that lady.
But you know what? He has a child. There can be some.
Well, I thought that was going to happen before. Oh yeah, the child may be like, and also the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
To help others might be some light.
Yeah, he's finding ways to live his life the best he can in honesty and truth.
All right, guys. She sounds like she's down for the count. Thanks for doing this with us, even though you shouldn't have.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
I think I need good chat therapy.